Bitcoin is looking real good right now, but I'm going to stay centered and I'm still going to be focusing on the smaller picture micro supports because these micro supports are the key to helping me, and it's all just my own opinion, to help me determine if we're going to invalidate or not invalidate because it was reached, but at least not focus on this deep value purple area below 100K and instead start focusing on potential new highs coming soon because we're not that far from breaking all-time high. But let's break this down into realistic point of view. So what we have, right, was Bitcoin downtrending due to global tensions, war related, and a little bit of mostly tariffs and interest rate fears. And then once a lot of this ceasefire happened for the war, and investors started becoming more optimistic, we started seeing higher prices starting to go and breaking these previous resistances. We haven't broken this one yet, and that's very important. So what I'm gonna do is kind of remind myself and at the same time remind you guys of what's really going on out here to help us determine how we want to position ourselves with Bitcoin. And I'm gonna be explaining what I'm doing. And again, it's all just my own opinion. It's what I'm doing, just sharing it with you guys for educational purpose. I'm not telling anyone to copy this. But yeah, interest rates are being held. Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, wants to see more evidence that, of course, um, inflation is going down, and he believes that the majority of tariff inflations have not actually been presented yet. So we will keep an eye on that going forward as well, and his tone in future meetings. And of course, CPI reports that come out in the future as well. But when it comes to tariffs, right, we still have a lot of tariff tensions. There was some negotiations happening previously, but a lot of that news started fading away, and again, more fears kicking off. At the same time, Bitcoin is rallying, right? So this could be an indication for us to be very cautious and potentially, watch our position sizing and where we want to get in. But I'm gonna get into that in a moment. And then there's a few analysts. One is expecting 165K Bitcoin breakout incoming. That's what it says on the title. And then this one is something similar, but they're targeting 170K right here. And they talk about it, but I'm just gonna focus on my own charts because um kind of like to do my own research, my own analysis, and kind of go off of that primarily. But here's the breakdown, right? So we've been waiting for this purple area to get hit so we can have a really nice lower low from here, have nice deep value Bitcoin. And I did say in a previous video that the moment we break into this, I don't know how low it's going to go. Ideally, I do like to see the 0.5 retracements being broken, especially on a bigger picture trend. That would be around 95K. But the price did break below 100K briefly, indicating that there was at one point enough bearish momentum to break into it. So just like a lot of other examples, and I've shown this so many times, where we see extension areas get broken into briefly before getting rejected, and then eventually they extend into the it can be retracement or extension. They eventually tend to reach further into these areas. So the reason I'm saying that is because, well, all this dip was for two reasons very important. It's, of course, we're seeing an overall retracement happening, which technically it is good, but it could be a little better. And then secondly is due to just macro stuff happening, pushing the price lower. And then we have a very optimistic, strong rally bringing us up to currently 107K. I think it was at 108K briefly earlier. Before, all this happened, we were going lower. And this optimism, in my opinion, is very, how do you say, not just influential for Bitcoin, but it's very hype. It's a very hyped up rally, mostly focused on macro environment and the news coming out. So what I'm doing right now to keep this realistic is the retracement. We're going to extend it up higher to follow the price. This blue area isn't significant anymore because, this was showing potential resistance and it got broken. making the RSI more overexhausted to the upside. And we haven't seen the RSI come down. Now, this doesn't mean that Bitcoin can just keep going higher. And I am accumulating. I'm going to show you guys real quick a picture. I don't remember the numbers, but this is of market close today, June 25th on Wednesday. So that position isn't done yet. I plan to add more to it once the chart tells me so. I'm going to give you guys examples of what that has to be for me to want to add more. And then eventually I am, regardless, expecting much higher prices. The overall swing position that I showed you guys is focused on higher prices, regardless of what happens in the short term. But when it comes to short term trading, if I were to be interested in opening a trade right now, to the long side, I'll be very cautious because we're overextended. The price hasn't had a proper retracement. The RSI was overextended. It is not discounted. And at the same time, we're starting to see, if you guys haven't noticed, a lot of this hype news starting to slowly fade away. And I wouldn't be surprised if tariff and inflation stuff is what, brings the price back down and potentially, even the overall market and potentially start pumping the VIX, because the VIX is much more discounted. I did close out the VIX trade. I talked about that previously. And I'm interested in opening up another long trade with UVXY, but I'm waiting for some indication for that to happen, because as well the S&P is very close to all-time high. We can see enough bullish momentum, like we're seeing right now, to push it higher. In the short term, we could see some imbalance being filled, maybe the price hitting that 120 moving average once again, like it happened previously, before making a new all-time high. And then from there, at that point, short-term bulls will be exhausted, and maybe there will be a lot of profit taken in to push the price lower. But an overall retracement hasn't actually happened in Bitcoin yet. We're not seeing any of those signs. So I'm keeping an eye on that to potentially open up some new VIX trades to take advantage and hedge my overall Bitcoin swing trade. So it's not ideal to open a long right now unless you're using a very tight short-term SL at a small swing low, because the risk is that we're forming a top and we're going to start going lower. So if I were to open a short right now, quite simply, I would just keep waiting as well. I want to see, to open shorts, I want to see micro supports being broken, at least 2 levels of micro supports to strengthen the reasoning to want to open a short. And then if that were to happen throughout the rest of this week, there's 2 more trading days. If that were to happen, I'll most likely take a short, and then I'm looking to start taking profit TP starting at 105k and below. So I'll be shaving position to try to take profit off of that. That's my plan. I'm not too eager to open short-term long positions because the price is, we're waiting for a retracement. I mean, even though there's a lot of optimism, prices tend to retrace to a proper level before going up much higher. So I would rather see that happen to me to want to add more to that overall swing trade. And then to take a short, I want to see 2 levels of micro supports being broken to strengthen the case for this yellow retracement area. Now, but in order for me to invalidate this area, we will have to see overall support within this structure right here hold. So the price not breaking below 102k and instead finding support somewhere at that point or above, and then breaking whatever swing high is confirmed. At this moment, we're still trending higher. So at the point we start breaking micro supports and we get closer to that retracement, and then that will be the swing high, and that would be another indication for bullish confirmation. And then of course, if that gets broken, then of course I'm looking to invalidate this area. But as of right now, due to, again, we still have a lot of tariff pressure, regardless of the optimism in the Israel-Iran issues, we still have that in the background, and then that can come back up and start causing fear in the market, because we're still in a downtrend. I mean, this swing high hasn't been broken. Regardless, this one's not broken before we reach the all-time high. So we're still being very careful. Extension was over pushed. The 120 is down here. We can easily come down to the 120 and flirt with it once again. It could act as support as well, but regardless, what I'm looking for is bullish confirmation, which is support holding and then swing high breaking, for me to want to add to the swing position. I'll be looking to take short-term longs within the support area, and then using a previous swing low as an SL, and then start shaving the position for the short term once we start mixing with that swing high once that's confirmed. Not short, I mean for the longs. And then short positions would be micro supports being broken once again, like I said earlier, taking that and then using the swing high that's formed as an SL, and then using the fib retracement as a TP. If the retracement fails to hold, which right now I'm leaning more towards support failing and the price going down lower because we're still in an overall downtrend. Usually these, third wave down. So an overall, if you guys like Elliott waves, like, first wave down, solid, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So that's a very nice first wave. Second wave as a 3-wave pattern within it. And then last wave can also be a fifth wave, which is first, second, third, very deep fourth, and then come down and finish that fifth. So this is still in play until, again, we have that bullish confirmation. If the price were to keep going higher, then again, I'll let the swing trade go more into, make more profit, and I'm cool with that. That's the reason I have swing trades, and at the same time I take short-term trades, is to take advantage of randomness, because right now the price is fluctuating primarily on macro stuff and not fully influenced by just the structure itself. If it was influenced by just the structure itself, we would have seen this, in my opinion, this extension area holding a bit stronger and not breaking over it. So when we have an environment like this where macro environment and the overall headlines, it's what's influencing the price, then that's when we have to be very cautious until that fades away, being very cautious with where we're taking positions and understanding the importance of SLs until the structure becomes more clear. But that doesn't mean we don't have opportunities to keep making profit. Of course, my portfolio is gaining in value as Bitcoin goes higher. And to hedge, I'm looking at taking another VIX trade once it makes sense to, and looking to take short-term trades with Bitcoin as the price attempts to have an overall retracement. And again, ideally, I would like to, even if it comes down, I take a short, take profit in this area, and the price keeps going lower, then cool, I took profit, and then that, if it fails, it allows us to have a much, finally fill this area a bit more, go deeper below 100K, and then accumulate much more attractively in this area before we have a quick recovery higher. And then we finally start making our way towards this green area, which will eventually be there very, very soon. But we got to keep in mind, no matter how much hype there is in the overall, news and the overall market, a lot of this hype can easily be shattered the moment, we have a reasonable time to start coming down. That's why it's so important to, instead of being surprised and taking, hyped trades, we understand that we're waiting, we're being patient, we're waiting for the short-term price structures to indicate rather we want to be short or rather we want to be long, and then whatever decision we make, we have, things in place to protect our capital and to know where it's a good time to begin selling to take profit. So that's the whole important thing. Again, I'm just waiting to see if volume starts to shift, because I want to see the RSI finally come into discount. And then when RSI is in discount, I want to see where we are within this structure, because it could be an indication that support's going to hold and we can start going up higher and then invalidate the purple. But that's why it's so important to wait to see and then position yourself properly to take advantage of either direction. So patience is very important, understanding the structure, what indicates increased volume in either direction, and then based on that is where I will begin to take new positions or add to a position. So I'm waiting on that. We'll see if the price continues to fluctuate. We have a very clear indication tomorrow on, what's the more ideal scenario, at least in the short term, so we can keep making short-term profit as we let the overall swing trade do its thing, and then soon enough up here, and we'll be making some real good money. So yeah, that's just what I'm doing. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.